Aidan, welcome. So let's talk about sustainability. A recent PwC survey looked at topics companies deem to be material disclosures, and in fact, very few actually related to tax. Why do you think tax isn't receiving the attention it deserves and actually showing up as a material sustainability topic?
It's a good question, Will. I think when companies think about sustainability, their minds are immediately drawn to topics like decarbonisation, health and safety, pay equity. And tax is often the forgotten child of sustainability. And I think that's because companies, whether that be sustainability teams or even tax teams themselves, just see tax as a financial matter that is already dealt with in the financial statements. But if you think about sustainability, tax actually touches across the environmental, the social, and the governance pillars. So from an environmental perspective, we are seeing tax policy being used as a lever to encourage more sustainable behaviours. A real example of that is the tax incentives that governments are offering companies to invest in greener technologies. From a social perspective, tax is becoming a sustainability metric in itself.
Now, let me follow up on that. So when ESG reporting does actually include tax, it can be a powerful indicator of how a business sort of views its role in society, if you will, and its commitment to its purpose. And it's obviously a critical element of a business's social contribution, that S part in ESG that you were just talking about. So what actually are the upsides to getting the narrative right? Can it actually help build trust with investors and with wider stakeholders?
There are lots of upsides. So as you say, investors and wider stakeholders are really interested in companies' tax affairs. They want to understand how much tax they're paying and to whom. But as we know, tax is complex and can be easily misunderstood. So it can be really helpful to have a clear narrative explaining some of the key concepts behind that around your business model, your profit drivers, and your total tax contribution.
Right. Good. That's a great point. Okay, so let's talk about non-financial ESG reporting or sustainability reporting. It's still largely voluntary, but nevertheless, there are increasing examples of where it's becoming mandatory. The most recent in the EU, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD, for example. So as it becomes more of a mandatory set of rules, given the range of perspectives and the growing number of frameworks that people face, how can businesses best respond to that?
As you say, well, we are moving into a transitionary period of mandatory reporting anyway. I think the first thing that businesses need to do is a horizon scan to have clear visibility of all of the reporting requirements coming down the track. From a tax perspective and ownership of those, some of them will be quite apparent. So public C by CR being one example of those because that's a tax-led directive. But you mentioned CSRD. You'll have broader sustainability reporting, which tax is just a subpart and it's embedded in it. So it's really important that tax departments are closely aligned with their sustainability teams to ensure that they have full visibility of what's coming down the track. And that connectivity is really important to ensure that tax are involved in the decision-making process around what disclosures are made on tax.
So let's talk about a basic point here, just a final one, because tax can obviously be incredibly complex and businesses may underestimate the amount of time it actually takes to collect the data that they need for this. So, and then build that story around it that you were talking about, the narrative. So where do you find that the clients are on this journey? And obviously the answer is going to be, at least in part, in different places, but if you can generalize a little.
Yeah, I think broadly speaking, clients are evaluating the data points that they need to disclose and are assessing their readiness, particularly under CSRD and public C by CR. So under CSRD, I think companies realise that they will be making disclosures under GRI 207, which will require disclosures on governance, tax strategy, tax risk management. And companies are now evaluating the robustness of their internal controls and governance and taking action to address any deficiencies in anticipation of reporting.
Well, Aidan, thank you very much for joining us. This is obviously a fast developing topic, so we will look forward to getting you back. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks, Will.